Hi, this is John with PDF Tax. This is Form 1040X, the amended individual income tax return, and we're going to look at this to see what happens when you change the exemption amount. So I've set this up for Fred and Margaret Jones, and they are married filing jointly, so I'll check that, and this is going to be a 2017. And we're going to assume that they filed their original return with just one dependent, but they actually had two. Somehow they forgot to include the second one on their original return, so they need to add that back to get the exemption for that second dependent on the 1040X, which is what we're going to do right now. So first thing we're going to do is fill out this column for the original amounts, and we're going to say that they had $40,000 of wages, and then their standard deduction for 2017 for married filing joint would be 12,700, like that. And on line 4, for their three dependents, that is, they have an exemption for themselves plus their one dependent for a total of 3. So, and that is 12,150, which is 4,050 times 3. And then on the line 6, they computed their tax from the tax table. That's the most common way to do it. So that's that. Which I spelled that wrong. There we go. And so a tax on 15,150 from the tax table for married filing joint would be 1518, like that. And they did have one dependent on their original, which was under 17 years old, so they got a child tax credit of $1,000. You get $1,000 per child if the child qualifies. So on line 11, you come down to a total tax of $518, but they also had some income tax withheld of $2,000. And on line 14, they also had an earned income credit of $828 because they qualified for that with one dependent. So their refund on their original return was $2310, and we need to put that on line 18. The overpayment as shown on the original return is $2310, like that. So that is their original amount that they have. Now, in order to add that second dependent, we need to scroll down to page 2 here, which is where we change the exemptions. And originally they had 2 exemptions, one for each of them and one for the one dependent that they did include. But they're going to increase that now on their amended return by 1. So now they've got a total of 4. And their exemption amount would have increased by $4,050, like that. So now their exemption amount is going to be $16,200, but they also need to list their dependents here on this line. So we'll say Carol Jones was the first one that they included on their original, and her social might have been something like that. And she's a daughter. And she qualifies for the child tax credit, which we already took on the original return. But the one they forgot was Sam Jones, and they put him here like this, and we'll make up a social for him. And he has a child tax credit. I actually had to do this a couple years ago because on my original return I transposed the Social Security number of my son, and so the IRS disallowed that exemption, so I had to do an amended return to get that back. So that might be why they forgot Sam on their original. But in any case, they're going to add him back here. So that's how that works like that. Now, since they added that exemption, we already know that their exemption amount increased to 12 or 16.2. So if we go back up here and look at line 4, we can see that's right there, 16.2. So now the taxable income is 11,100, and that of course is going to change the tax. That will decrease the amount of tax by $405. So we're going to put a negative 405 in there like that. So the corrected tax now is 1113. And on line 7, they've got another dependent that qualifies for the child tax credit, so they get $2,000 instead of $1,000. But the child tax credit is a little bit funny because it's split up into two parts. You have a part that's non-refundable and a part that's refundable. What that means is that on the non-refundable part, you can only take credit up to the amount of tax, and the amount of tax right now is 113. So we'll put that right there. So now the tax shows as 0. And then down here on line, let's see what line this is, 15, they'll take the other part of the child tax credit from Schedule 8812, and we'll need to fill that out and attach that to the 1040X when we send it to the IRS. And so we'll put 887 here like that. So the 887 plus the 113 equals 1,000. So they're getting another $1,000, but they had to split it up between those two lines, like I said. And one other thing that happened when they add another dependent is that increases their earned income credit, and that will increase by $13.98 like that. So now it's $22.26. So now if we scroll down here, we see that we're getting a refund now of $28.03. So that was really a valuable thing for those taxpayers to do, to add that dependent back, because they got a lower tax, they got another child tax credit, and they got an increased earned income credit. So that worked out really well for them. So that is how that works, and thanks for listening.